conspiracy theories are dangerous.
Information is the oxygen of a democracy.
With Republicans, with progressives, with libertarians, because this is not about right and left, this is about right and wrong.
This is actually real. Like, bro, hold the fucking phone for a second. Like, can we just pause real quick now that we've done enough of this? 75,000 of you have been here long enough with me to realize that, like, we're reading a real. So a lot of these investigations that we do are kind of like here nor there, and you're like talking about a little thing there, like a little corruption there. Like, what we are talking about right now is literally like the name on the CIA money laundering accounts over the last 4 decades. It's like the allegation that's being made in this whole document is not that, like, here's one little CIA operation that was operating this way. The allegation that's being made is that the director of the CIA, in collaboration with the president of the United States, in collaboration with world governments all around the world, and the Rothschild banking empire, all collectively got together and made a single umbrella of a trust company that they used to put all of their black money accounts underneath for their drug money, arms trafficking, whatever black budget programs they do. And all of them went under this trust called Five Star Trust. The allegation is not that this is like a little thing over there. The allegation is that the entire US government black budget money laundering operations were run through these trusts. And what we are seeing in these documents is the fucking over and over and over and over corroboration of things like the same bank account numbers with the same monetary values showing up in letters, showing up in fucking bank statements, showing up in court cases, like legal documents, signed like affidavits. And what that means is that, like, you see what I'm saying? It's fucking wild. It's just so bizarre. And I think it's kind of old news at this point for the government, because I'm sure that they've like moved on to new forms of money laundering. We live in the digital age now. Like, this is all out of date. And that's why I'm like, Gigi's probably not actually barking at the CIA coming to kill me. She's probably just barking at the wind, because, like, yeah, we're maybe like 20 years late to the party, but still, like, the gravity of what these documents are is crazy. And there's plenty more that we're going to go through here. We're not done yet. We're at 3 hours. We got more to go. All right. Let's go, baby. On to the next. Dude, this is epic. We're going to hit 4 hours here. This is wild. Free speech and all over the place. I don't know how we're going to beat this next week. So this is a letter to General Ferrera from Baron Philippe du Daphne. Bon ami, Robert. There's our number. JPY, Prime Minister of Japan. So this is not like new information. This is just re-corroborating what we already learned, which is really important. Okay. I then proceeded to call my friend GS, which is George Shultz, the United States Secretary of State, which I corroborated. So in the letter, he just says GS, and I corroborated that George Shultz was the Secretary of State at the time of the writing of this letter. Little things like that. And under the utmost caution, he gave to me the information that the possible next president of the United States, Mr. George Bush, was the individual that could most acquaint me with the agreement made by both nations. This because George Bush was involved in the original fucking scheme way back in Project Eagle 2 in fucking Vietnam. Sorry, long night. Like, the president of the United States was one of the 4 masterminds of the original operation. And so naturally, George Shultz is like, you should probably ask Georgie Boy, because Georgie Boy kind of knows what's going on with that whole operation. The secretary further cautioned me to be most careful, for many persons had perished who were associated with the matter. The secretary called Mr. Bush, and I have been informed by him that upon his taking the oath of office, not if, there's a special little place in here where it literally says, when Mr. Bush takes the oath of office, not if, he's gonna win. He will personally meet with you and give carte blanche to your concluding of this matter, but not before. Please call me, my dear bon ami. So, once again, Bush is going to become the president. And in this letter, 1988, he's like, Baron de Daphne's like, and when Bush becomes the president, homeboy, Ferrera, Bush is going to call you and he'd be like, yo, homie, you know how we did that Eagle 2 thing? Well, it's time for you to come in and like carte blanche and wrap that shit up for us, okay? Like, these things are not accidents. Who is getting put in these positions? The implications of this letter related to Bush Sr. are huge. They imply that he was selected to be president and the powers that be had achieved certainty of his victory before the election. And it also implies that his election had at least some bit to do with his knowledge and ability to unwind this whole Eagle 2 issue at the time, relating to all these secret accounts and liberated assets and monies and metals, right? Because you think about it, like what we're saying, the Rothschild banking empire, the most powerful banking empire in the world, is in on this plan. The CIA, the most powerful intelligence operation in the world, the U.S. government, like the whole world power system is in on this Eagle 2 plan. And so if they need to wind it down, that's a big deal. And they need to put a U.S. president in who's in the know so that nothing goes wrong, no questions get asked. They got to like take it seriously. And so, ta-da, George Bush, take a quick turn at the presidency and wind that shit down for us, please. You're welcome. Okay, on to the next. Credit Suisse, main branch bank, another totally not fake little document. Registration of 5-star trust to U.S. Mortgage and Trust Co. with Credit Suisse. Rest in peace, Credit Suisse. Shouldn't have fucking been trading with our Chagos, and maybe you'd still be around today. Got Bill hanged, baby. Should have gone long on GameStop. And maybe we wouldn't be laughing at you right now. He estimated amount in 5-star trust account at Credit Suisse is 1.6 trillion US dollars. Just in that one account for 5-star, just at Credit Suisse. Okay, another long letter to Marion Horn Jr. from Baron Philippe du Daphne. Baron Philippe du Daphne loves to write. He loves to hear his own voice. You can just imagine from the way he writes too, can't you? All right. Here's my note. Holy shit, Ed Kennedy was investigating them. Yes, this is such an important letter. And then they found out. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Sick. Holy fucking shit. Okay. Whew. Can I make this so you can all see it? Dear sir, please forgive my audacity and perhaps my strong desire for total security in this matter, but Le Baron is convinced that you strongly share my sentiments. I do not, under any circumstances whatsoever, wish to give the impression that I do not trust General Ferrera by my sending these documents under the security of the seal. On the contrary, I trust the general with my life, and his honor and his word have always been accepted. I fucking love General Ferrera, you get it? Okay. I say this to erase any doubt that might appear as to my very strong positive feelings towards the general. As you read that which Richard and I have enclosed, you will understand the reasons for security. So he like sent a letter. General Ferrera delivered it, but it was under seal. Like, don't read it, General. But it's like, he's like, bro, trust me. It's like really important. Like, it's really important. So what's so important for Marion Horn to read? Bon ami, JR. Both Mr. Helms and I are of the opinion that the documentation enclosed should be shared with you. So we have taken the liberty to send you the copies you now possess. The original is in our Paris vault. There are no other copies, and we strongly insist that there are not any more made. You understand, bon ami. Richard and I have known for a long time now that certain elements have desired to bring us down. And we have had a rather definitive idea as to the identities of those persons. But even with all that, we were both astounded when we learned that Senator Edward Kennedy had requested a top secret report on our project. That's the fucking FBI report that we just read for 2 hours. That's what it is. And they're freaking out because Ed Kennedy asked for it to get written. And this is written in this fucking letter right here on July 18th, 1989. Bruh. Corroboration is what I call it. Okay. We were further shocked when we saw also a complete dossier, well, almost complete, on General Ferrera. We have come by these documents by having one of our covert agents, quote, liberate the documentation from the vault in the home of Senator Kennedy. They literally fucking went into Senator Kennedy's house and stole the fucking documents. And we have also had all tapes and copies that the FBI destroyed. Remember how the FBI was like, all these documents just disappeared. I don't know how. The senator cannot report the borrowing because he would then have to divulge his own covert operations against President Bush. Because remember, President Bush is on this team. And Ed Kennedy was investigating them. No, bon ami. This is one of those operations when all must remain silent. We cannot and will not help the general in his financial problems. So he was kind of cut off because he was off helping Marion Horn at this point. This is one of those operations when for to do so would endanger Studebaker, the name of like their whole, that's like the OG name of the operation back from the Eagle 2 days. I assume, we don't really know, but I assume Studebaker is like the whole operation. I think maybe it's just the money side of it. It's hard to say. Guys, we're about to hit 80,000 in here. We're at 79,039. We're about to hit 80,000 nerds online at like 9 in the night, 11, 1 in the morning on a fucking Friday night, literally reading CIA documents. Y'all are the fucking shit. I love you guys. Okay. And that we shall never do. For those funds and the others in all question will help save this earth. That's how they see themselves. They're literally smuggling drugs. They're selling heroin to Vietnam veterans. They're fucking smuggling crack cocaine into fucking LA so that they can help save this earth. That's how they see it, because they're going to use all that money to build a fucking really nice highway in Mexico with their buddy's construction company, bruh. All right? Just fucking back off the heroes. We are trying to meet, and I put this in all caps because it's literally in all caps in his letter. We are trying to meet our stated deadline for clearing of the 24/25th of July. But if we cannot, we do not want you to worry, bon ami, for the delay will only be short, if any. We shall meet most shortly, Richard, you and your friend. Okay. That's the end of that letter. But just real quick, like, bro, that is why this letter, this fucking FBI report from Teddy Boy exists, right? Full circle. So if you're new to the stream, we spent the whole first 2 hours reading this crazy FBI report that Senator Ted Kennedy ordered in 1989 in July from his buddy at the FBI. He's like, hey, can you do all the research you can about this like Jason Bourne like dude named General Ferrera? He's a mystery. And the dude puts together this crazy ass report about like drug smuggling and FBI or CIA money laundering, and about General Ferrera cutting the balls off of Manuel Noriega and stuffing them down his mouth and making him choke on his own nutters. I think it's on the next page. Like, right, yeah. Like, all this FBI report, they're over here, the home team, the heroes of the story, are over here freaking out because Kennedy is investigating them, writing this crazy report. And so they send some dude into his house to go steal it. That's fucking crazy. This is real. It's like a real document. This is like, you could not write a spy story that's more fucked up than this. Like, holy shit. This one's interesting. They speak about entering phase 2 in May of 1989, where the Golden Triangle operation will be fully closed down, and then they will release all the funds held in New Zealand and DC. So this is all 1989 is when they've been doing all this old shit, Golden Triangle and stuff. We're at 80,000, guys. You're the best. And then the Horn thing happens, and Marion Horn's like, they try to send him away to prison, and then he gets out, and then he's like fucking problem, and they're like trying to pay him off. In 1989, the funds are locked in New Zealand. Marion Horn is locked in jail, trying to prove that these accounts really exist. And they're like, chill the fuck out and stop making noise, bro. We'll pay you. And like Japan is trying to change their fucking government, and they're trying to install their dude so that no one's going to ask any questions. It's like, oh, all very complicated. They got in way over their heads. And they're talking about moving to phase 2 of the operation. Once that's all done, the funds come out of New Zealand, start going around the world to fund all their really great projects. Paragraph 2, Prime Minister of Japan resigning. Some epic spy novel shit about how badass the general is. Yeah, we should probably read that. Let's make this bigger. In closing, General, I feel that I can be fully candid in what I write, for I know that the contents of this letter will never be released. Gotcha, bitch. And in that spirit, I wish to state that it has been a total honor for me to finally meet the elusive and mysterious general, once codenamed Eagle. So he's just literally fanboying over General Ferrera right now. I can inform you that even as this is being sent, there are many in Washington trying to identify the general. I have met you, and I still do not know who you are. On the other side of the coin, sir, I cannot understand how you, in your position, could take leave of your duties to devote yourself to the business of a private citizen. We know that you are not being paid, and yet your loyalties appear to be primarily with 5 Star and Mr. Horn. Perhaps one day we can discuss this, if both of us survive. We are on opposite sides of the coin, General, but I respect you, and I pray the feeling is returned. Your word is acceptable to all, as I hope mine is to you. In that spirit, I wish to warn you that there are certain elements that feel you have stepped in on their toes, as well as those who do not want to see Mr. Horn or 5 Star collect their funds, and thus claim them for their own use. Mr. Horn of 5 Star, these elements have offered a great deal of money for you, General, for without you, they feel they can win. Beware of the friends of your Mr. Horn, who are no longer within his inner circle, and beware of those in the bureau that feel you have embarrassed the service. I, for my part, must help to keep you safe, for without you, Mr. B, Mr. H, and myself are left in limbo. Real quick, who is Mr. B and who is Mr. H? That would be Mr. George Bush, the president, and Mr. Helms, the ex-director of the CIA, and myself, Richard Armitage, the fucking gopher. Remember the gopher? George Bush's little bisexual gopher boy who had his little gopher buddy, Mr. Sununu. We'll meet Mr. Sununu in a second here. He's writing this letter. And he's fangirling over the fucking general like a Taylor Swift concert. And he's talking about how he's so clever coding. Mr. B. Who's that? How they're fucked if the general goes down. Finally, steps have been taken to wipe out any reference to Mr. Horn from any international publications, as well as any complaints, etc., with any government agency. Well, gotcha, bitch. You didn't wipe this out. So this long letter by Jean R. LaRocque that we've been reading right now, that I've just been kind of skimming through. I didn't show you. Jean LaRocque is this guy. He was a rear admiral in the U.S. Navy. Worked at the Center for Defense Information. I don't really know how he got involved. This whole fucking 5 Star Trust keeps on getting like people all over the world involved in it, when it is overtly like if you know what this account is, you know that the entire world is a lie, and the U.S. government is literally smuggling hundreds of billions of dollars of drugs in and out of every country all over the world. Like, come on, bro. And this random Gene dude is also in on it. Everyone's in on it, except for you. But now you are. Okay, and then that's the end of the letter. This is just a letter. Oh, here's where they're threatening George H.W. Bush, low key. It's this dude who's like, you can see here, he's like, remember who I am? I know you, Mr. Bush. But what he's doing is he's like a lawyer who got associated with Mr. Horn. His name is Mark Conrad. And he's writing this letter to Bush being like, yo, I'm like writing you on behalf of that dude, Marion Horn, who you like kind of like fucked over in the midst of your drug smuggling operation back in the day. And like, It'd be great if we didn't need to make a big deal out of it and you could just kind of like pay him a little bit under the table and like we could all forget it ever happened. Because it'd be a real bummer if we couldn't forget that it ever happened, George, right? That's pretty much what this letter is, which honestly takes balls. Like, fucking, maybe Mark didn't realize what he was writing when he wrote it, but it's kind of ballsy if you think about it. Here's just another bank statement. This one is fax transmission NMB. Is this New Zealand? Singapore? Bank in Singapore with a note on it about J.R. Horn that is hard to read. And it's just got $1 billion US in that account, $1.25 billion in that account. Oh, yeah. And then here, 725,342 gold bars of 12.5 kilogram weight. Rothschild hallmark, super pure. I don't know much about gold, but 725,000 bars of gold sounds like a lot of gold, bro. Like 12.5 kilo. $100,000 for one of them? Bro. I mean, let's be real. This is not enough research to like roll with, but we're going to roll with it. If each of those is worth 100,000, that's a lot of zeros you're adding in there, right? I mean, it's late. Let me just not have to think too hard here. Times 100,000. It literally doesn't even fit in my calculator. That's $72.5 billion worth of gold. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not that smart, but okay. And then the very end of the whole thing, the last page, the whole cache of documents that we just reviewed, all of that is notarized. In witness hereof, I hereby attest, affirm, and acknowledge this documentation as resume of history and legal case of 5-Star Trust by affixing legal signature, Mr. Marion Horn Jr., who identified himself by proper identification on this 17th day of February 2011. Mr. Benny R. Lane, Notary Public at Large, State of Ohio, USA. Sealed. So that's the 5-Star Trust. And it's very much a real thing. And these documents don't actually indicate that it ever ended. Like, they don't indicate that it closed. They don't give any indication of that, right? Like, am I wrong? I mean, I'm no expert, but so that's where we stand today. Fucking crazy story thus far. Robert Ferrera faked his death and is theoretically living in Mexico or, somewhere right now. He's old by now. Marion Horn is old. This is Marion Horn right now. He had a Twitter account in 2019, posted a few photos, a few completely nonsensical tweets, like with just his name and shit. Who knows? He literally says executive trustee of 5-Star Trust on his Twitter account that's defunct now. That's that. Bush died, raised an evil child. Lansdale lost all of his memory, died. Colby, fucking psychopath. I think died. Yep. Good riddance. Armitage. Not dead yet. The gopher's still living. So the gopher is the sole survivor, and maybe General Ferrera, the sole survivors of the original 5. Because Helms died 2002. Old men. And of course, the Dulles brothers died. So, we're on a whole new generation of CIA scumbags these days. But now, the hook. I found in archive.org like an excerpt from this book, and he claims, so this guy was like, he ran a bunch of companies, and somehow or other he wound up in prison at one point for like something that went wrong with one of his companies or something. And he claims in this book, I think, that I'm ordering right now, I'm waiting for it to come, that he winds up in prison in the like, and his cellmate is Marion Horn, the main character of the whole fucking story. He claims, so the first chapter of the book apparently is titled How I Met the Richest Man in the World. Because Marion Horn, you know, is the guy that technically owns Five Star Trust and is like, has hundreds of billions of CIA drug dollars and all these fucking accounts. And he's apparently in prison with Marion Horn. And Marion Horn is old and fucking tired, and he's over it. And he's like, bro, do you want to hear a crazy story? And so apparently this dude got the inside scoop from Marion Horn and then probably helped him to, like, I would assume this guy has something to do with all these documents we just went through being on the internet. And he wrote this whole book that apparently didn't get enough press because it's a big deal and none of us have ever heard about it. And so there's like this whole other rabbit hole out there of like, what does this dude know? And why didn't his book sell anywhere? And is he still alive? And I found him on Twitter and I messaged him, and he hasn't been active on Twitter in a couple of years, but I'm hoping I can get a hold of him and like be like, yo, dude, you want to come and hang out on Free Speech Fridays and talk to me? Because that would be a fun free speech. Wouldn't that be a fun Free Speech Fridays to get the dude that apparently was in prison with Marion Horn, that apparently did the whole deep dive on this thing, that like, bruh, come and talk to us. We got some shit to ask you. What's going on? What is real anymore, dude? So that is the whole rabbit hole. That is the story. That is the Five Star Trust.
American conspiracy theories are dangerous.
Information is the oxygen of a democracy.
With Republicans, with progressives, with libertarians, because this is not about right and left, this is about right and wrong.
It's so sick we can't talk about it.
It actually lifted up, and it could actually turn.
I'm gonna ask you to look away.
Legend has it that Christian Rosenkreuz drew his secret knowledge from the wisdom of the ancient Egyptians.
They estimated 100 yards from the left wing was this 100-foot disc.
You begin to get into this very scary scenario that has to do with the human condition, of the proclivity to accumulate vast amounts of power around a handful of people. And right now, these misanthropic sociopaths are running the planet into the ground.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet. Our security is at stake.